Perhaps the biggest complaint that I often hear is that the next generation is too soft. And the folks that were before us had to put up with a lot more stuff. And I'm going to say, obviously, that is likely true. That means that there are social norms that are changing. But why is it that they're too soft? What is going on there? It's because it actually works, right? Like, we know a lot at this moment in terms of what works in the world in terms of productivity and making people feel bad, making people feel like they cannot contribute actually doesn't really work that well. There's almost all of the evidence is almost pushing all of it in much of the stuff in the business research area broadly almost always pushes towards suggesting that connecting with people, having a little bit of charisma, having a little bit of empathy, having a little bit of connection, having a little bit of, I'm going to put myself in somebody else's shoes as a leader or as the generation that's helping out somebody else, it almost always points in the same direction. In the same direction is that it's helpful. It does help people get from one place to the next. And here's the thing, right? Like, I don't believe in terms of that there's big differences in terms of humans throughout the generations. But one of the things that I think is actually pretty real is the feeling that you can actually accomplish something and do something. And in this environment, we have a lot of resources. And so it's easy to get overwhelmed, or it's easy to say, I don't have to do anything, right? Like, I think in our generation, this is a real legit thing that we have to deal with, is the abundance of stuff that we have access to, the abundance of resources that we have access to. But the same is true of every other generation in the last few hundred years, that there's been more than we can ever imagine. And so what gets people connected and what gets them to sort of move in that direction is just getting them to believe, getting them to think like, I can actually do this. And if you get them to believe and you get them to connect and you get them to say, hey, I can actually do this. This is something that's within my fingertips. A lot of people will step up, and a lot of people will think that they can actually do a lot in their life. And it's the problem is that you're going to reach a lot of moments in your life where you don't want to. It seems a lot more challenging than you think it is. And then you just need a little bit more to turn the switch. And so often, hitting somebody down, making them feel worse, making them, being discouraging and all of that kind of stuff actually doesn't really help out. It's getting people to feel a little bit of pain, but then encouraging them to walk through that pain, right? It's getting them to look at this and say, you know what, this is really painful and it's really awkward and I don't think I could do this. But if given the right circumstance, I can actually do this. And you can walk through to the next step. You can go and do these many things. And the truth is that you can't fix other people. You can't get them to change. They have to actually want to change themselves. But you can be the person that's going to help other people change when they're ready to change. And being that combination of both a little bit of, sternness, but at the same time, forgiving when people actually want to make a change and they actually want to make a difference. That's when a lot of change that goes on. So I don't think that this generation is any more softer than any other generation. You look at them, and this complaint has been going on for years and years and years. In fact, my parents got the same thing. They got the exact same comments from their parents. Their parents went through a heck of a lot more, and they went through all this crazy stuff like the Great Depression and all of that kind of stuff. So I don't think that that is going away. And yes, we do have more resources than we ever had. And yes, there is a softness to how we communicate today. But that's because we know often that that actually works. I think like the idea of pushing somebody towards something often needs a little bit of softness, a little bit of compassion, but at the same time, a firm kick in the butt almost always, right? And so it's this combination of being soft, but also getting a kick in the butt that allows people to grow and progress and do great things. So don't think that this generation is actually soft in any sort of way. They're doing more things and more fantastic things than a lot of other generations because they have resources that, frankly, many of us didn't have resources. But that they are doing it in a healthy and much more impactful way than we could have ever have done in the past. And I want you to remember that. It's not necessarily this generation is that much different. It's that we know some of the tricks at this moment. And yes, there is an awful lot of people that are free riding today, but there was an awful lot of people that were free riding many years ago. And maybe it's easier to free ride today, but we have to get that combination of a kick in the butt at the same time as moving people forward with the softness that actually works. And we know it actually works. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.